Good evening, everyone. So, okay, anyway, let us start the class for today. Anyway, let me give you some briefing on what we are going to discuss today because it is very much important to know what we are going to talk about or discuss about. So, let me tell you what we are going to talk about for today's class. So, today we are basically talking about the very basic concept of electrical motors, which is, it comes under the category of DC machines. So, in DC machines, we are going to talk about electrical motors, which is nothing but electrical DC motors. So in electric DC motors, we are going to have some concepts today, which is very much important because while you're dealing with the electrical machines, as in the case of DC machines, it is very much important to know the concept about back EMF. So yesterday we have seen many kinds of terminologies and yesterday we also have derived the EMF equation of a generator. So similarly in the same way, yesterday as I have told you, we are going to talk about the torque equation also. Okay. Okay. Anyway, now let us know the concept of back EMF, which is very much important. So this is the first topic that I'm going to cover today. And then let us see some basic uses and disadvantages of the back EMF also. Okay, because it is very much important to know this concept because it is the only thing that we are going to talk about because it is also an important parameter in terms of a DC motor. Okay. And then we will go with the applications of DC machine, maybe application of DC motor. It is very easy actually because you might have been seeing the applications of machines wherever it is possible because in your daily life you might have seen a lot of machines. So all those machines in which include the DC machines also, so you can have some idea because you will be already having some idea. But another thing that we are going to talk about is the starting method. 3-point starter. It is 3-point starter. So question paper. Okay. So 3-point starter is very important starter. In case of a DC machine, it is very much important. So in case of motors, it is very much important. And then speed control methods. So we are going to discuss about the back EMF and then the application of a DC machine and then starting methods by using this 3-point starter. And then we are going to discuss about the speed control methods. So speed control methods, because it is very much important to know how we regulate the speed of a machine. So speed control methods are there for both series connected and shunt connected. So we have to discuss the speed control methods for both of these series and shunt connected machines. Okay, so let us see it very individually because it is very much important for us to know the very basics regarding the speed control methods. So as I have told you, we are going to start today's class with back EMF. Let us know, this is very simple concept but an important concept. Okay, let us start within 2 minutes at least because I want people to come. So let us wait for 2 minutes and then we'll start with back EMF and the rest of the topics that we are going to cover today. Yeah, please do ask your friends also to come. Okay, meanwhile, please ask your friends also to come because we have arranged everything here only because of you. Only because of you. No one has compelled us to do anything, but still only for you we are doing all these things. But if you do not present, if you are not having a good strength, if I'm not having any good strength in this one, there is no use of telling the class even, right? So please ask your friends also to come to this class. Okay. Anyway, 25 people have come. Okay, let us continue now. Okay. Anyway, it's high time now. Let us continue. If it is clearly visible, okay. If it is not visible, please try to increase the. And let us continue with the first topic that we are going to talk about today. That is back EMF. Okay. Let us start with back EMF. Let us start with the back EMF. So what is back EMF here? So as the name suggests, you might have got some idea. By now, you might have got some idea. Back EMF in the sense, for example, I am running a machine as a motor. See, we can run a DC machines both as generator and motor. It is very important to note this. We can run a DC machine both as a generator and motor. But when we are running a DC machine as a motor, so what happens automatically? The armature will definitely be rotating, right? So armature will definitely be rotating. So this could be the armature. Maybe this could be the field. This is the field. Maybe this is north and this is south. So this will be having some field lines in which this armature, because this will be electrically produced, the field will be electrically produced. But when this is used as a motor, that means we have to take mechanical output. That is, we collect mechanical output from here. So this will be supplied with some kind of, maybe some V voltage has been given to this motor. So as soon as the supply is given, what happens? So the interaction between this armature flux and this stator flux or the field flux will be resulting in the rotation of this armature. So obviously we will be having some kind of mechanical output outside, and we can collect that mechanical output through this shaft. So automatically what happens, we are collecting some mechanical output. But when this is like this, that means we are operating this DC machine as motoring, like, we are using it for motoring process. So when this is being used as a motor, what happens automatically? We are getting mechanical energy, but still it will also have some generator characteristics. Generator characteristics in the sense, as it is working as a motor, it will also work like a generator. So what happens, obviously, because this armature is rotating, see, understand here, please try to put your focus. When this armature is rotating, because when the armature rotates in the generator, it will produce some voltage or EMF. We will collect it from the armature itself. Similarly, when we are using this as a motor, this rotates. So in generator also the armature rotates. Here also the armature rotates. There we take electrical output. Here we take mechanical output. But still it will have some of its generator characteristics. That means it will produce a minimum amount of, very minimum, okay? Don't take it as a larger amount. This is very minimum amount of EMF will be produced within this armature. But we are giving this input, right? We are giving some input as a voltage to this motor. We are giving input, but what happens? Some EMF is producing in the counter direction. In the sense, we are giving voltage. That means some EMF has been given to this motor, but still some EMF is getting produced in the armature itself, and it is getting back to the source. So this counter EMF, we call it as a back EMF. This counter EMF is called as the back EMF. So the EMF that is produced in a motor while the armature is rotating in the opposite to the source voltage is called back EMF. So how is this useful? Is it advantageous or is it disadvantageous? So obviously it is having advantages and it is also having both disadvantages also. So it is having both advantages and disadvantages. Okay, this is all about back EMF, and let us now consider that one also. While doing some problems, we will be getting to know back EMF exactly. Okay, so don't worry about back EMF. This is useful. Always it is also unuseful, like this is also having some disadvantages also. So now let us go with the starter. Okay, let us go with some applications. Let us talk about applications also, because if you are talking about DC meter, so how is it helpful? Like where are we using all these things? So let us talk about the application of a DC motor. So where are we using these DC motors? Have you ever visited a shopping mall? In that shopping mall, you might have got into elevators. So the motors that we use in those elevators for lifting up the machine, lifting up the whole system, can be DC motor. So it can be DC motor in which it needs high torque. Understand this one? Torque in the sense the twisting force. Twisting force. So the twisting force is called to be the torque. In order to lift that much of heavy material from the down, maybe from, let us assume that you are in the ground floor and the lift has been filled with so many people, and so the weight of the lift will be definitely high. So in order to lift that one, it will also have some mechanical forces which pulls it up, but still some motoring action has to be done. So for motoring action we use the motor. So that motor should have a highest torque value. So DC motors normally have highest torque value. So where do we use in axis? So other than this one, where do we use? So you might have got into trains, right? So in trains also we use 6 different motors, not different actually. So we use 6 motors in a train engine. So those motors are called to be DC series motors. So DC series motors were used in the train engines. See, have you ever wondered that much of torque is having? So with that much of torque, it is able to drive that many of bogies. Okay. So only because of that. If you have visited nearby location, maybe if you're from Vijayawada or maybe somewhere from Visakhapatnam, you might have visited some kind of locations. So in those locations, if you ask any engineer working over there, he will tell you what kind of machines that it is being used in the machines. But normally we have visited it personally, and so I know what kind of motors used. So those motors are also called as traction motors. What are those motors? Traction motors. So traction motors are also working on the DC supply. So DC motors are everywhere used, no matter how it is used, but it is everywhere used. But we might not be noticing them enough, but still they are used a lot. Okay. The applications of it finds a wide range of scope also. So because of its nature of having highest torque and because of its nature of having highest efficiency, these motors are everywhere used. Okay. And let us now go with the starters, because starter is an important concept. If you want to deal with the starter, is very important in your DC machine starter. Okay. Let us now go with the starters. Okay. So what is this 3-point starter and why is it needed? What is this 3-point starter and why is it needed? Because while talking about the starter, here according to your syllabi, we are having 3-point starter. 3-point starter. Let us draw the diagram later, but still now let us understand the concept behind this. So why this 3-point starter is used? Why at all we need a 3-point starter? Not only 3-point starter, why at all we need a starter first? Why do we need a starter? In order to start a normal DC machine, we can simply give the supply, right? We can simply give that, right? And then why are we having this starter? So we are using these kind of starters only because of the back EMF. Only because of 3-point starter. Okay, because this back EMF is the only reason that we are using this 3-point starter or whatever the starter it could be. No matter whether it is a 3-point starter or whatever the starter it is, why at all are we using the starters first? So the usage of starters comes into the picture only because of this back EMF. So how is it affecting? Why is it needed? And how this back EMF is affecting the need of starter? Okay, let us now go into it. Let us assume a shunt motor. Okay, let us assume this. Okay, let us assume a shunt motor. Shunt motor in the sense the field will be connected in parallel with the whole system. So let us consider this is a shunt motor. This is a shunt motor. So here the supply will be given. This is motor. So as current direction will be in this direction, so the current direction will be in this direction. The current gets split up here. So the current direction will be like this in this node, and in this branch the current direction will be like this. Okay, so the current directions are like this. So what happens here? Let us understand this one. So here V can be given as V is like this. V is like, because the supply is given in this direction. So here I will have IA current that is flowing through this motor, because the armature, the current that is flowing through the armature is called IA. The resistance that it will have, the armature will have is RA. The current amount of current that is flowing through this machine is IA. The amount of resistance that the coils, the armature coils having is RA. And let us now draw the direction of the current within this machine. Okay, don't get confused here. So I am now rubbing this one. So what I am doing is now I am drawing the direction of this IA. So then our direction of IA is like this, and this armature is having RA resistance, and definitely see, understand it very clearly. I have told you how back EMF is produced. How back EMF is produced normally? How is it produced actually? So it produced when the armature is rotating, right? It is produced only when the armature is rotating. So the armature when rotates only would produce back EMF. So when it is not rotating, what happens? No back EMF is there, right? So when the machine is at rest, that means when the supply is not given, or even when the supply is given at the start, okay, at this start, when the supply is given, immediately the armature won't rotate, right? So at this start, the armature will be at rest position. So when the armature is at rest position, it will not produce any kind of back EMF. So we can come to one conclusion that at rest or at this starting, there is no back EMF that is producing inside this machine. Understand? Back EMF only will be produced when this armature is rotating. But when this armature is not rotating, there is no back EMF. So back EMF will be produced when this machine is running. When the machine is not running, what happens? There is no back EMF. So obviously what we can say is we can come to one conclusion that as soon as the voltage is given, or as soon as the supply is given or supplied to the or this machine is fed with some supply, it won't rotate with its maximum speed. So what happens? It has to start from 0 speed and then has to rotate with maybe 1500 RPM or whatever speed it is. But as soon as the supply is given, the armature will be at rest. So after some time, it will attain its maximum speed, right? So at this start, there will not be any kind of maximum EMF or back EMF that is produced. So understand it very clearly. So what I can say is here I can draw some kind of equations, right? Let us draw some equations. So what I can draw is here V equals to, let us consider the motor is running. Let us consider the motor is running. So there will be some back EMF produced when the motor is running, okay, provided that the condition is the motor is running now. So when the motor is running, there will be some back EMF. So when the motor is not running and when the motor is at rest, that means the armature is at rest. So the inside part, the rotating part is not rotating. So when the motor is at rest, there will not be any back EMF. But when the motor is running, there will be back EMF because motion of armature will produce some EMF within itself in the counter direction. Okay. So let us consider when the motor is running, what happens to this equation, because this equation, this V will be equivalent to EB. That means back EMF plus the voltage drop in that armature. So what is the voltage drop in that armature? IA into RA, because IA is the amount of current that is flowing through that armature. You can come to one conclusion that this is equivalent to IA plus RA plus EB. So this is the equation when the armature is at rotation. That means when the armature is running, we can come to that conclusion. But when the armature is not running, that means when the machine is about to start, I'm telling start here. Please, this one, do like this. Put some hyphens. Double quote it. Okay. When the machine is starting, that means the machine's rotor is not yet in the maximum running position. It is now at rest. Because when the machine is starting, that means the armature is not yet rotating. Armature is not in the running position. So now the armature is about to run. The armature is about to rotate. But when this starting, so when the condition about starting comes into the picture, so what happens during the start, the armature position will be at rest. So when the armature position is at rest, will there be any kind of back EMF? So there will not be any kind of back EMF because the armature is at rest during the start. Armature is at rest during the start. So we can come to one conclusion that during the starting, the armature will be at resting position, and so EB will be 0. Because we will not have any kind of back EMF when it is at rest. So EB will be 0. So IA into RA, right? So we can simply write as IA RA because V equals to directly IA into RA. See now, IA equals to V by RA, right? IA equals to V by RA. No matter what amount of voltage we give, but the resistance, armature resistance, what kind of windings do we have in the armature? We will have copper windings. Do copper have highest resistance? No, it will definitely have lowest resistance. That means RA will be very low. So when the resistance is very low, the current direction, the current intensity will be very high, no matter what voltage we give. When the resistance is low, the value of current is always high. Okay, because the resistance is very low here, because we are using copper wire here, the copper will definitely have the lowest resistance. When there is a lowest resistance that we are witnessing, then there will be the highest amount of current. So we can come to one conclusion that here the amount of current is increasing. Amount of current is increasing. So at the start, there will be no back EMF. Because of there is absence of back EMF, the amount of current in that armature is very high. So when the current increases, what happens? Current should not get increased. Okay, if current is getting increased, heat will be produced. Due to that heat, the winding may get damaged, the winding may get melted. So what happens? Automatically the armature will get burnt. So the obviously the machine will get burnt. So in order to reduce this current, see, in order to reduce this current, in order to regularize this current, we use starters. That's why the name starter, because this happens, this whole thing happens during the start. This whole thing happens during the starting only, and so there is a need of using a separate starter which regulates this IA current, and that is why we need it. Okay, so there is a special kind of starter that has been introduced into the electrical systems, and that starter is nothing but a 3-point starter. Okay, so that starter is nothing but a 3-point starter. So we have to always keep in mind this concept, because this is very much important, because the IA is increasing. That means the armature current is increasing when there is no back EMF. When there is back EMF, so let us just say example, when there is back EMF, the equation will be like this. Maybe V minus EB by something. Obviously the upper value will be getting reduced. So this value is also reduced. So obviously the value of IA is also will be the reduced value. So there is no that much effect. But when there is no back EMF, what happens? For this voltage, when we apply some 220 volts, let us say 220 volts has been applied, the RA will be nearly about 0.01, I think so. When it is 0.01, what happens? IA becomes very high. IA equals to 220 into, see, this one is can be written as 1 by 100. So this 100 goes up. So what happens? 220 into 100. That much of current is coming towards the armature winding. Then armature winding is not designed for that much of current. Okay, so obviously the heavy currents will definitely burn the whole thing. Not only the armature, it will burn the entire thing. That much of current has never been seen in life also. So that much of current is very much dangerous. So it is dangerously high amount of current. So in order to reduce that high amount of current, we use starters. Okay, so that the motor runs at, the motor starts with some kind of smaller speed, and then it runs with the maximum speed. Okay, and now let us see how a 3-point starter works, and let us see the basics of 3-point starter also. It is always, teaching classes is good, but making you understand is really difficult. Okay, anyway, let us start with 3-point starter now. So 3-point starter is nothing but we will have 3 separate points. I will tell what those 3 separate points are. Don't get confused. 3-point starter, in the sense, it is very easy topic, because when I was studying this electrical machines, when I was in my second year, because these topics are all related to second year concept actually. Now this has come to you anyway, you must have to make use of everything. Okay, so 3-point starter is there. So this 3-point starter, the usage of 3-point starter, the disadvantages of 3-point starter, advantages of 3-point starter were there, but how does it work and how does it look like? So let us look at this, and let me draw some diagram. If it is possible, try to take some screenshots, or else it is also available in the Google if you want to search for it. And then let me draw some 3-point starter like this. Okay. This is the supply, okay? This is supply, and these are resistances, okay? Each resistance will have different studs. That means, let me call this one. So here I am having one stud, here I am having another stud. So this solid material, which is made up of a conducting material, it's called as stud, okay? So here I'm having another stud, and this one is another stud, and this finally I will have a final one. This is a final stud, okay? And this is now connected like this. This is now connected in this way. And then let us have the supply here, okay? Let me have the supply here, and we will have one common plate which is connecting these 3 points, okay? These 3 points. So here we will have 1 point, and here we will have field point, and here we will have line point. That is, normally 3-point starter is denoted with L, F, and A. These are the 3 alphabets that we use while representing a 3-point starter. So even in the experiments that you are going to do in your maybe BEEE laboratory, you are going to observe LFA, which means that this is a 3-point starter, okay? Everything is not shown in that experiment, but you are going to draw some box like this. So in this box you will have 3 dots like this, and then you will have MFA. So what is this LFA? So L is nothing but the line, okay? L is nothing but the line, F is nothing but the field, and A is nothing but the armature. So where am I going to have all these things? So let me draw this one also, and here I will have my field. Here I am having my field, and then this is directly connected to the negative one, okay? Chalk piece is not right, so anyway. Okay, this is directly connected to the negative terminal. So here we will have the main motor. This is main, okay? This is the motor, and it will be having the armature, okay? That's why this is called as A. This is the field which is connected in shunt to it, and so this is F, and this is the line which connects this positive terminal with the entire system, and so this is called as line, okay? So let me draw this here. Let me write this here. And then where is this going? Is this going there directly, or is this having some kind of mechanisms before? Yes, it is having some kind of mechanisms here. Let me draw that one also. So this will be directly connected to a electromagnet. Understand this one, a electromagnet. So the electromagnet will be like this, maybe. So it is winded, okay? So this is an electromagnet. So this is an electromagnet, and this will be directly connected to one spring. This is directly connected to one spring. So why is this spring used here? So this spring is used because we will be having one stud like this. We will be having one stud like this. So what happens automatically when we move this stud from point A or point, maybe let us name this one 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or we can also say this 1, 2, 3, and this is off. This is off, and this is run. So we can also name it like that. So now when the position of this stud is here, because the positive terminal is not directly connected to this armature, because this positive stud is connected to this armature via these resistance. So what happens is here we will be having another stud like this. This is a magnetic material. Okay, this is a conducting magnetic material, and then we will be having another electromagnet here, another magnet here, and you know this will be connected directly here. Okay, this is another electromagnet. Okay, please just don't get confused. Okay, I'll tell the whole process after drawing the whole picture. Okay, I will tell the whole process, how it works and how it is going to control the flux and speed. Okay, so because it is all about the starter, and so it is very much important for us to know the details about it. And then this will come here. So this is directly connected here because this positive terminal and negative terminal will be getting connected. Okay, and then this will have okay. So let me give you some idea because it is not clearly drawn, but still you will get it in the internet if you want to. But I'll tell you the working of it. Okay, let us skip it because as soon as possible we are running out of time. Let us skip this one. But here I am trying to explain you everything about the working. Okay, here let us understand positive and negative terminal has to be given directly to this shunt and motor. Then the motor works. But as I have told you in the previous concept, the IA is increasing. Only because of that reason, what's happening is here we are not directly connecting this positive terminal, this one, but we are connecting this positive terminal via all the system and then going to the motor. So why is this system needed? Because there what happening during the start, the current is increasing. Current is dangerously high. So here the current is very low at this start. But when it is running, the current will be very high. So what happens and how is this happening? Here we will be having some kind of handle, and so we can handle this one. So what happens during the off position, it will not connect anything. But when this takes position from off to 1, so when this is moved from off to 1, so what happens automatically? The resistance is decreased because here see, here I'm having 1, 2, 3, 4 resistances are there. So obviously the resistance of the system is high. So obviously the current flowing from this resistor, from this one, will definitely have the lowest current because there is highest resistance. So what happens when this is moved to stud 1, some resistance will be cancelled because this is now skipped. What happens automatically? The current increases in this one step. So the now current increases in one step, and after some time, maybe after some maybe in a fraction, this happens within fraction of seconds. And then after some time, let us move to stud 2. Now the position of this whole thing is at stud 2. What happens automatically? The resistance of this second resistance also will be getting cancelled because the stud is in contact with this one. So this positive terminal is directly connected to this armature. And then let us come here. Now the position of the stud is at position 3. And the third resistance also will be getting cancelled because this one, and this one are now not in contact with this one because this is now in contact with only this resistance. And now after coming to the final position, we should not hold it any longer, right? We cannot go and hold it till the work is completed. So what happens is there will be some electromagnet that I have drawn here. This is an electromagnet which holds this one. So this will hold this one with help of this fit. I mean, this will be there will be some arrangement in which this one fits into that with the help of electromagnetic process. So obviously what happens, this stud will be staying there as soon as the power is switched off. So what happens automatically, this current is increasing. The current to the armature that is given to this machine will be increasing step by step. So the current is not given all at a time. So it is given in step by step. So automatically what happens, there will be no that much of dangerous currents that enters into it. Okay. So for this, you must have to have some idea on the previous lesson. Okay. Because previous topic is all about the explanation of what happens when the current is very high. So that is very much needed, and the count is getting decreased. I don't know why this continues to be like this. I'm not going to teach because here we have been making all arrangements only for you. That is a clear, because we have been finding it very difficult to say classes even. We have been using our mobile phones, struggling a lot here. Our mobile phones batteries are getting drained. For this purpose, normally we have to use cameras. But still, I don't know why the count is getting decreased. It is all about you. You take a decision. Okay? We are not here to teach only few people like goats and pigs. No, it is not like that. Please ask your friends also to come, okay? Here we are struggling. Almost half of my day has been spent here. Only for you. Only for you. Please ask your friends also to join. Otherwise, if it is going to be continued, I am not going to continue this one, okay? This is a reminder that I am giving you, and anyway, let us move to the next topic. Again, the count is getting decreased. The count is getting decreased. If it is now going to be like that, sure, I am not going to teach anything. Is it a need for me to teach students? Is it a need for me? It is not at all a need for me. Can't I study myself? I am having my own works to do. Still, I am coming here to teach. Coming here for teaching you. It is not at all a need for me. No one is doing nothing for me. Okay. But still only for you I am coming day by day. Ramkiran sir is struggling a lot. He is doing all these things only for you. Please have some seriousness. Okay. Please have some seriousness. If you tell you are not serious in BTech itself, you are going to lose. You are going to pay for it. Definitely it is going to be happen. It is going to happen. Definitely if you are not serious at what you are doing. That's what I'm wanting you to do. Okay. Please make sure that every one of your friend is aware of what is happening here. If it is not going to be like that, no, I'm not going to teach. It is not at all a need for me to teach here. That's what I'm really, insisting you to make your friends know about what is happening here. It is not at all a need for me. No one is paying me nothing. But still I'm coming to the live streaming and then teaching you. This is not even my class also. This is not even my YouTube channel also. This is not even my subject, but still I'm teaching. That's what we have to understand. Teaching is very easy for anyone, but making arrangements, all this stuff is very difficult. Making you understand is really, really difficult. But still I'm also here struggling like that only. Can you understand? You are now BTech students. Can you understand the importance of class? Can you understand? Don't you know how important it is to listen to a class? So anyway, let us continue. Anyway, today I have got hurted really. Anyway, let us go with the next topic then. Tomorrow onwards, let me talk to Ramkiran sir and then we'll decide whether to teach the class or not. And then finally, speed control methods. Speed control methods. See, let me give you some idea. Otherwise, you're going to lose. As in the EMF equation that we have studied earlier, you know that EG, that is generated EMF, equals to generated EMF is given by pi Z N P by 60A. Pi Z N P by 60A. See, understand this one. What are the parameters that are constant here after the construction of a machine? For example, what are the parameters here? So here I'm having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 parameters are there. And this is another parameter which is defined by these 5 parameters. So what is constant here? So what are the parameters that are constant here? What are the parameters that are constant? That means the value of this parameter should not change. That means after constructing a machine, the poles will not change. Because after construction, I cannot change the poles for changing speed, right? So here the poles is constant. So P is constant after the construction. Number of conductors that are constructed, number of conductors that are put for winding were also constant. And then the flux is the only thing that changes. Because flux depending upon the current. If current changes, automatically the flux also will change. I'll tell you how this happens, okay? Let us now understand what are the parameters that are constant. So here N is there. N will also change, right? N will also be changing. Flux will also be changing. And then number of parallel paths. But this one is constant. 60 is already a constant. A equals to number of parallel paths. So after constructions, number of parallel paths also will be constant. So we have to now find the speed control methods. So how a speed can be controlled, or how can we increase or how can we decrease the speed? So how is it going to happen? So what should be decreased in order to increase the speed, or what should be increased in order to increase the speed? What parameter should be changed in order to change the speed? Here N is nothing but the speed, okay? This you must have to keep in your minds. N is nothing but the speed. So let us now understand on what parameters this N is depending on. So if we get to know on what parameters this N is depending on, we can change those parameters so that the N will also change. So if N is depending on certain parameter, if we change that certain parameter, this N also will change, right? So for that we must have to know on what parameters if this N is this N depending on. So now let us rearrange this whole equation in terms of N. So N equals to 60A into Eg by PZ pi. PZ pi. So what's happening here? N equals to, because 60 is constant, A is constant, P is constant, Z is constant. So what are the terms that are, what are the parameters that are variables here? So EG is variable. That means it changes as the speed changes. It also will changes as current changes. So we can write this whole thing. I mean 60A PZ by PZ can be written as one constant because every parameter within this box is a parameter. So N equals to, I am writing this whole thing as a constant K, and this is EG by IA. So now N is depending upon EG as well as IA, right? So now N equals to K, sorry. If we take this as a proportionality constant, we can write that N is directly proportional to EG and inversely proportional to IA. I mean, not this is not IA, this is pi. This is pi. So N, the speed, is inversely proportional to pi and is directly proportional to the generated EMF. So in terms of generator, we have to talk, and then it is EG. If it is not a generator and if it is the motor we are using, and then we can say N is directly proportional to EB and inversely proportional to phi. Okay. So let us understand this part. So N here is depending upon EB. So if EB increases, the speed also will increase. If phi increases, the speed decreases because N is inversely proportional to phi. So we have to change these parameters in order to change the speed of any DC machine. What are the parameters that are to be changed? EB has to be changed in terms of motor. If you are motoring, if you are using that machine as a motor, EB has to be changed. If we increase EB, the speed increases. If you decrease EB, the speed decreases. If you increase phi, that means the flux, the speed, if you speed decreases. If you increase this one, the speed decreases. If you decrease this one, the speed increases. Okay. So these are the two parameters which have to be changed in order to change the speed. Okay. And let us look at that one also. How are we going to change the speed? By changing the other two parameters. And let us now understand how this phi affecting the speed. Because phi is directly proportional to I. Because this you must know, because when there is some, let us say this is a coil or solenoid, if you want to call it as a solenoid, you can also call it that way. It is having N turns. Here N is not the speed. Here this is N turns. Okay. N represent turns. So in case of machines, you can use it as, and you can use N as the rotations per minute, maybe rotations per minute, that is RPM. But here it is number of turns. So this will, as I is flowing through this line, through this solenoid, according to the value of I, the flux will have its value. So as I increases, the flux will also increase. So the flux is depending upon the I. So flux is directly proportional to I. If you increase I, the flux will also increase, right? Flux will also increase. So another thing that we have to define is if the back EMF is increased. If the back EMF is increased. So back EMF is also directly proportional to what? Speed. Here it is RPM. And phi is inversely proportional to, I mean, we can write it as phi is inversely proportional to N. This is also speed. So as EB increases, the speed increases. If it is a motor I am talking about, if it is a motor, we can write these parameters. If it is a generator, we simply have to say easy. But you know, generator, the speed of the rotor will completely be depending upon the prime mover. Because you know, we are generating, and so we have to generate it with help of a prime mover. So it completely depends upon that one. So here as speed changes, the generating EMF changes. But here in the case of motor, as EB changes, the motor speed changes. When the flux changes, the motor speed changes. So these are the two parameters which have to be changed in order to change the speed. If you want to bring some change in the speed, we have to bring change in all these two parameters. And let us see how are we going to do that. Okay. So this happens both with series motors. So let us say this is series motor and shunt motor. So there are different speed controlling methods for both of these motors. So for series motor, there are different four methods of speed controlling methods. And for shunt also, there are 4 or more than 4. 4+ methods are there. So here also most probably 4+ methods are there. Let us discuss them tomorrow, but today I'm not going to discuss about that. But still, what we have to do is we have to get some overview on how it is going to happen, on how this flux is changing and how the speed of the motor is changing its value. Okay, let us look at the overview of these 4+ methods and these 4+ methods. Okay, so let us consider a series shunt motor first. Let us assume this shunt motor. So this is a shunt motor in which it is connected in parallel with the armature. This is a motor. The field is connected in parallel with that one. So here this is a shunt motor. This is ISH because this is shunt field, right? So this is ISH and this is IA. This is IA. This is whole current. I mean entire current which is given to the whole system. So here we apply voltage V. So the first method in shunt motor, speed control method for shunt motor, the first method is going to be by controlling the voltage. By controlling voltage. So the first method is going to be the voltage control method. That means when we change the value of voltage, what happens automatically? This is very basic one. This we know. When the voltage is increases, obviously the motor speed increases. When the voltage is decreased, obviously the motor speed decreased. So how is this going to happen? So this is happening only because of like this. Let us see this one. I is coming because when we change this voltage V, obviously the I is going to be affected. Let us see how this is going to be affected. And when this flows through this one, when the highest amount of current flows through this one, when the current is flowing through this one and the current is not flowing through this one, it is not like not flowing completely, but some amount of current is given to this one. That means in order to minimize the amount of current that flows through this one, in order to minimize the current that has to be flown through this one, we have to put some resistance here, right? So this resistance will stop the ISH current, so the flux will get decreased. So when this flux is decreased, what happens? Obviously, I have told you, when the flux is decreased, the speed increases. So obviously what happens when the voltage is decreased? When the voltage is decreased. When this voltage is decreased, obviously the speed decreases. Obviously the speed decreases. So let us talk about the other topics also, because other speed controlling methods also. Meanwhile, let me know if you are having any doubts regarding the topics that we have discussed just before this one. Okay, let me know in the comment section. I'm looking at the comments now. Let me know if you are having any doubts. Actually, I'm waiting for the doubts now, so let me see the doubts. If you are having any, let me know in the comment section. Okay, I think no one is having doubts. Anyway, let us continue. Okay, let us see how this shunt motor speed can be controlled. Okay, shunt motor speed control. So the motor, that is the shunt motor speed, can be controlled in different ways. Let us talk about one by one topic. Okay, the first one is we can control the voltage. Okay, we can control the voltage. So voltage control method, the first one is voltage control, and the second one is we can also control the armature. So armature control method, and then we can also control the flux. So flux control method, and then also we are also having another method which is very important actually. We normally call this as these methods actually come under voltage control method. So the first one that comes under this voltage control method is multiple voltage control. So in this voltage control method, we are having one sub voltage controlling, that is multiple voltage control method. And then there is also the B part, I mean the next part, the second part of this voltage control is Ward-Leonard system. Ward-Leonard system. Let us see that in the later classes, but still I'm giving you some overview on this one. Okay. And then there is also some other, for this one, for series also, there are some other methods to be followed. And let us now look at that one also. So if it is okay, I will be rubbing this one. Okay. Let us see how this series motor can also be controlled with some different kinds of methods. So series motor can also be controlled by using certain methods. So this is series motor. So seriously connected motor, series wound motor speed control. So for series wound control method, so the first method will be flux control, because flux is the only term, you know, because we can control it directly. So the flux control method is one method, and then we will be having different methods in this one. And then the second one is variable resistance method. And then the third one is series parallel control. Series parallel control. So these are the main three methods that we are going to look at, but still this flux control method will have 4 different methods. I mean, this is subdivided into 4 actually. So this can be done in 4 ways. Flux control can be done in 4 ways. So these 4 methods plus this method and this method. So entirely we are having 6 methods for controlling a series motor. And in the first one we are having 5 methods, in which in the first voltage control method we are going to have 2 subtopics, and then the other 2. So entirely we are going to have 5 methods. Okay. So these are the subtopics that we are going to cover. But anyway, let us now start with voltage control method for the shunt motor. Okay. So the first method is in shunt. So this is going to be shunt motor. So the first method is going to be voltage control. So voltage control method is going to be subdivided into 2, right? So those 2 are, one is multiple voltage method, and then the other method for controlling the speed of a motor is Ward-Leonard controlling method. Ward-Leonard method, let us say. Okay. Ward-Leonard method. So in Ward-Leonard method, so this is normally used for highly sensitive systems. High sensitive systems. So how is this going to be happening? So, you know, let us see. Voltage control method, in the sense we are going to control the voltage. So by controlling the voltage, we are going to control the speed of any machine. So here is the shunt motor, and so we are going to control the speed of the shunt motor by changing the value of voltage. So here the multiple voltage method, in the sense we are going to give, let me give you some overview also. This one, the multiple voltage method. First one is multiple voltage method. This is very simple. Multiple voltage method, in the sense the speed of the shunt motor can be changed by applying different voltages. Multiple in the sense more than one. Here you have to consider more than one. It is not more than 2. Here we have to consider it is more than 1. So we are going to excite these 2 machines differently. That means here it is simply also called as a separately excitation. So what we have to do is this armature. So actually what happens in a shunt motor, what is to be happened? So we have to connect these 2 and we have to give supply in this direction. But here we are giving the same voltage. So for example, if the voltage is given like this, what happens here? The only one voltage source is connected to both the field and the armature. But here in this method, we are not going to do that. But here we are going to disconnect this field and this armature. I am going to give this one with one source, and this is going to be excited by another source. So this is another E, this is another source E, and this is another source V. So this voltage V is given to this armature, let us say this is motor. So with this help of this field, which is produced by this E, is given to this motor as a field, as a flux given. So what happens here? This is excited with another voltage, and this is also excited with another voltage. So obviously here we are having multiple voltages. So by controlling this one, if we have only this voltage, we cannot control. Because if this is not connected like this, and if this is connected like this, we have no scope for controlling this one. But when this is connected separately, if we change this one, this will change. So if this changes, if the current in this one, if the current in shunt winding changes, what happens automatically? The flux will also change, right? The flux will also change because the value of flux is changing on depending upon I. So I is depending upon flux, you know this. So if I changes, the flux will also change. So definitely you know that for changing flux, you have to change I. So when this is not connected and when this is connected, we are having only one source in which the changing this current becomes difficult. But when this is excited with another source, E, this is very easy for us to control this I. So when this I is controlled, this flux is also controlled. So when this flux is controlled, the speed can also be under control. So what happens obviously when this flux increases, the speed decreases. So when this speed increases, I mean the flux decreases, the speed increases. So this is multiple voltage method in which this field and this armature both are excited with different sources. Okay, these two are excited with different sources. This is what is called multiple voltage method. And then we're also going to discuss about the next one is the Watt-Leonard system. This is also very easy, okay, but this is not mostly used. Actually, this method is used in researches, okay, not this one, the Watt-Leonard system. This is commonly used everywhere. And then the next method is Watt-Leonard system. Watt-Leonard system. Watt-Leonard system in the sense it is highly used when we are having some sensitive, when we have to have some sensitive control over the machines. So it is not everywhere used, okay, because this is actually very expensive. Because here we have to involve 2 to 3 machines. 2 to 3 machines we have to involve. That is why it is very complex to build, okay, complex in building, complex in controlling also. So I will tell you the whole process and then you will understand why this is very complex and why this is very sensitive. Okay, let us go with this one. Here I will have one machine. It could be either a electrical machine. See, okay, do not get confused. It could be either an electrical machine or it could be a prime mover also. It could be if it is an electrical machine, it could be either DC or AC. Okay, we are using this machine for driving a generator. So this is generator. Okay, this is DC generator. This is DC generator. Understand it very clearly. Okay. This is electrical machine. This electrical machine can be DC or AC. If this is an electrical machine, it can be AC or DC. If it is a prime mover, it can be a IC engine, or it could be a diesel engine also. IC engine or maybe combustion engine also, it is no problem whether it is what kind of prime mover it could be, but it could be a IC engine or it could be a combustion engine or it could be a diesel engine also. So if it could be a ignition combustion, maybe it could be done by a spark ignition also. So no matter if it is a prime mover, if it is an electronic machine, it has to drive this generator. So if it is driving this generator, what happens? This will give out some voltage. Let us say this is positive and this is negative. Because the polarity will not change because this is a DC generator which produces only DC. So this DC will be given to our machine, our DC machine. So this is our DC motor. So what you are understanding here, we can control the movement of this one. We can control the speed of this one. So by controlling the speed of this one, we can be controlling the EMF that is produced by this generator. Because the speed is always directly proportional to N. Understand this one. Because we have derived one equation. Let me write this one here. N is directly proportional to Eg by pi. So if Eg increases, I mean if the speed increases, Eg also will increase. So if the speed of this motor increases, if speed increases, the generated EMF will also be increasing. If this generated EMF is increased, the voltage inside this motor will also increase. If this voltage inside this motor increases, the flux will also increase. What happens? Obviously, the current decreases. I mean, the speed decreases. If this happens in the opposite direction, what happens? The speed increases. So, this Watt-Leonard system is very complicated to design. Understanding? This Watt-Leonard system is very complicated in design. So, this is not mostly used. So, this is mostly used in terms of research. Maybe it is not highly used because this is very complicated to design. See here, we are using 3 machines here. So, one is a prime mover. It could be either an electric machine or prime mover also. So, here we are having one kind of generator. in order to produce the DC EMF. And here we are having our own machine which the speed has to be regulated. So this is very complicated, right? So that is why it is not mostly used. And then what is the other thing that we are using here? What is the other thing? What is the other method that we are having in controlling the shunt motor? That is armature control. What is that one? Armature control. So in armature control, what is going to be changed? In armature control, what is going to be changed? So if the flux changes, what happens automatically? The speed also will change. If flux decreases, the speed increases. If flux increases, the speed decreases. So this is what is going to happen. But how it is going to happen? By armature control. Armature control. So armature controlling can be happened by placing one rheostat. Simple as that. So this is a shunt motor because we are talking about the speed control of shunt motor. So what happens? Obviously, this will. What I am doing here is normally the DC shunt motor will be like this, right? So we will be given like this. So when the voltage is given, this field will react due to the field. The direction of ISH will be here, and IA will be like this, and I will be like this. But instead of making some direct current, instead of making this direct connection, what I do is I will make some change. What I will do is I will put some rheostat here, that is variable resistance, and then I will have my motor. So this motor is going to be connected like this. So what I am doing is I am controlling the speed of this machine by controlling the armature current. Armature current. So IA is depending upon the flux. No matter what kind of current it is, the flux is going to change, because the current changes, the flux is also going to change. So if the flux has to be changed, the IA has to also to be changed. So if you want the flux to be changed, IA has to be changed. In order to change IA, we have to place some resistance here. So IA is flowing like this, right? If the resistance is high, the IA will be less. If the resistance is low, the IA will be high. So if IA is high, the flux also will be high. If IA is less, the flux also is going to be less. If flux is high, the speed is low. If flux is low, the speed is high. So this is what the armature control means. So we can control the machine, or we can control the speed of a shunt motor by controlling the armature current also. If the armature current is changed, if the resistance is high, the armature current will be less. If the armature current is less, the flux also will be less. If the flux is less, the speed is high. If the resistance is high, if the resistance is low, the current is high. If IA is high, the flux is also high. If the flux is high, the speed is low. So that is what we have to understand from this armature control method. Okay. And then what else are we going to cover now? So let me see if I can cover other topic also, other controlling method also. Yeah, you're getting the points. Okay, that's okay. Anyway, let us go with what is the next method that are we having? What is the next method we are having here? And then we can also control the speed of the motor by controlling the flux. By controlling flux. It is very simple actually. Controlling flux is very simple. That is, we normally have a DC shunt motor like this. This is the DC shunt motor. Normally the arrangement will be like this. So what have we done in the previous method? We have put one resistance here in between this motor and this node. So what happened? The armature current has increased or decreased. So if the value of that resistance increased, the current decreased. If the value of that resistance decreased, the current increased. So what is happening over there? The armature current is changing. But here it is the flux that has to be changed. In order to change this flux, we have to change the shunt flux. That means we have to keep one resistance here, like this. So what happens automatically? The current that will flow in this direction is ISH. So when ISH is moving, it is not directly connected to this field. If it is directly connected to this field, obviously the flux will be constant according to this ISH, right? But it is now reduced by using this resistance. So what happens automatically? The voltage gets reduced by using this resistance. The flux will get reduced. If ISH is less, the flux will be less. If flux is less, the speed will be more. If resistance is high, the ISH will be less. If ISH is less, the flux is also will be less. If flux is less, the speed will be more. Understanding? So I will draw some kind of sequence here. Let us understand this one. If resistance is high, that means if this is high, what happens? This results in ISH comes down. If ISH is low, what happens? The flux also will come down. If flux is coming down, what happens? Obviously, the speed increases. So in this way, we can control the speed of this shunt motor. So we can also draw some other thing also. If resistance is decreasing, the ISH will increase. If resistance decreases, the current increases. If current increases, the flux decreases. Sorry, the flux also will increase. If the flux is increasing, what happens to the speed? The speed will decrease. Here the speed increased, here the speed decreased. So here you must have to understand how we are controlling the flux method. Okay. So far we have seen how the speed control can be done in shunt motors. So I think today we are concluding this class because there is no count properly. So we are going to continue this class. If it is possible, try to make your friends aware of what is happening here so that everyone is coming to the class. Okay. So let your friends know what there is happening here. And I want you to come to this platform by sharp 5:30. No one is allowed to come in between because I'm irritating by this. Some people are coming in between, some people are going in between. What is this? Is this a fish market? Someone comes in between, someone goes outside. This is not like that, right? So please come, please follow please have some punctuality. Okay. So tomorrow we are going to cover the series motor speed controlling methods. If strength is there. If there is no strength, I am not going to start the class. Okay. So stay safe and stay home. Bye.